I have successfully breastfed and pumped with my first two kids, both for a full year, and now I am getting ready to do that again, hopefully, with my third, and I need to start preparing. So today I'm going to take you through with me while I prepare for a third time of breastfeeding and pumping. For me to prepare for breastfeeding again, it just takes a little bit for your milk to come in, and in the beginning you're always so discouraged because your baby immediately wants to latch on and it feels like you have nothing to offer and I feel like that's so disheartening. So I feel like going into this third time around, I know like those first 2 days it's not going to be a crazy amount of breast milk coming out. It's going to be pretty minimal, and that's okay. I remember being in the hospital with my second and I was like, I don't got a lot going on here, to the nurse, and she was like trying to talk me off it. She's like, you're fine, you don't need formula, like this is completely normal. So I think just knowing that in mindset really just helps calm it down. Now, as far as preparing, first I need to stock up and make sure I have a few nursing bras and breastfeeding pads. I have both. I have the disposable pads, and then I also have like the cloth ones that you can wash. Now, I will say in my experience, I really only need these for the first few weeks, and then my body kind of figures it out from there. I don't know if that's normal. I feel like that's probably common. It's not like I'm going to need these breast pads for the full year of nursing. If like that's your goal, that's mine personally. But really it's just the beginning when your milk supply is just trying to figure out how much your baby needs and how much to produce. In the beginning, I definitely lean more towards the disposable ones just because I don't want to be having to worry about laundry and all of that. Obviously, everyone's different. That's just something to consider. And I feel like that big, ginormous box, as you can see, I have so much left over. I don't even have to buy any this time because there's so many that come in a box. And again, like a few weeks into it, my body's going to figure it out and I'm not going to need it anymore. I also have a few nursing bras. It helps me a ton to wear these at night. Something that really helps me with breastfeeding is unfortunately having to wear a bra all of the time. I don't know if it's just because your breast gets so enlarged, or at least mine, and engorged that it just feels so much better to be wearing a bra most of the time, including at night. So these ones are just like regular ones from like Target. They're very comfortable. I sleep in them. I do have a cover. I got this one from Target. It was like 20 bucks. I'll say I used it in the beginning, or like if friends are around, because sometimes that's kind of awkward, but otherwise I really don't ever use it. I just make sure that I'm comfortable and the baby is comfortable, especially when you're breastfeeding in the summer months. It could just feel overwhelming having like a cloth over you all of the time. So I just free ball it, but if, you know, a lot of times if you're not comfortable, that's totally fine. Just having that on deck and ready to go, keeping that in your diaper bag. So as I mentioned, a lot of this is temporary in the beginning, but in the beginning, I feel like when you're breastfeeding on one side, your other side is just, it's going to leak. Your body's trying to figure it out. And I just want to remind you, temporary. It's not gonna be like that forever. At least it isn't for me, so hopefully same for you. But I think because of that, this is really popular. It's the Haka. And then I also have another version of it. This is like the LV one. And this is how it works. So basically when you are feeding on one side, your other side is going to leak. Now, you can honestly not do this at all if you don't want to collect it, and you can just wear a nursing pad and call it a day. However, if you do want to collect it because you want to build up a supply, like in your fridge, like a nice little stash of breast milk, you can use these to collect it. Between the two of these, I would say the Haka is much better. It just suctions on really nice and really easily. This does as well, and basically as you're feeding, milk will just collect into this. A lot of people tend not to like the Haka because they say like your baby will like kick it and it could fall off, right? Because I mean, I'm sure you can imagine if you have a baby on this side and then this here, it obviously get kicked and fall off. I would say, in my opinion, typically when I'm doing this, my baby's like swaddled up. And again, this is like not a forever thing. Eventually my body figures out, okay, if I'm feeding on one side, I don't necessarily need this on the other anymore. So I feel like I really only use this for the first few weeks and I call it a day. So I've never really had a problem with them kicking it off. However, if you're someone who's using this for much longer, your baby will eventually start kicking around and kicking it off. And this one might be better because you could obviously keep this one right into your bra. This one, obviously, it's dangling, so you don't really have that option. The suction comparability between these two, the Haka definitely suctions way better. I have way more success, way more output collection with this than with the LV. And then also just preparing, I know this is personal preference, not being controversial in every way. If you want to give vitamin D drops, go ahead. If you don't, I don't really give a hoot. I personally do give the vitamin D drops. With breastfeeding, I just find it the easiest to give the ones where the drops you like put right on your nipple and then the baby just sucks as normal. I know they also make vitamin D drops that you like drop right into bottles. So that's just something to consider. So I just have those, I have to get those ordered and have them on deck. And I just keep them in a room or on my bedside, or honestly down here. I'm gonna be breastfeeding everywhere in this house. So just having them in one location so I remember. To be honest, I really think that's it for breastfeeding. Now pumping. Let me share with you what pumps I have on deck. I have a few different pumps. I've tried different pumps. But first up, I really enjoy the Spectra. I think this is the S2. It's the pink one. With my first, this is the one I used, and I was asking around, like, I'm sure if this is also your first, you're like, what pump do I get? Because it's kind of overwhelming with all the different options. And everyone I've talked to in like real life and looked into on the internet, a lot of people who use the Spectra ones, because these are hospital grade ones, have really good luck with pumping. So that was the one I went with. And I gotta tell you, I think there might be something to that. So I used this one with my first, and I used it with my second. Now, typically, I think the Spectra ones are covered like in full by your insurance. For most of them, I think. I don't know. You're probably like wondering what's the difference between the pink one and the blue one. So the pink one, something to consider, is this has to be plugged right into a wall. So in order for this to work, you're basically attached to the wall, which is why people tend to not love these hospital grade pumps or the Spectra pump. Now for me, I work from home, so I have one pumping area in my house. This is where I will leave my pump, and that is the location, so it's no big deal. However, they make this blue version that you don't actually have to be attached to the wall. Granted, you would have to carry this thing around with you, but you don't necessarily have to be plugged into a wall to use it. So if you're trying to make up your mind between the two, that is just the difference. Now, I do have different bras for this. You can do it however you would like. You can literally, if you would like, sit here and hold them while you're pumping, or you can get those nursing bras, which I have, I think 2 of them, where it just holds it in place for you. So that's really nice, especially if you're trying to be hands-free while you're pumping. With all of that being said, I also have one of those portable pumps. I do have the LV one, and these ones are typically a lot more expensive. Like even if you're going through insurance, a lot of times these ones you only get like a discount off. Now with my first, as I said, I just got the Spectra one, and a few weeks into going back to work, I was just kind of like, I don't know. I don't know the deal with being attached to a wall and pumping. And even like taking this with me, like this is, you got to take it with you. Like it's not like it's subtle in any way. I ended up going out and buying one of these. I think one, maybe it's like $250 or $280. And if you get both of them, right, because you have 2 boobs, it's like $500 or something. And you're probably wondering why I only have one. And that is because, and I'm not telling you what to do, but maybe this is going to give you permission. And I hope you're not a lactation consultant because you might be yelling at me. But I always attempt in the beginning to breastfeed with both boobs. And I have to say, one side just never feels natural, and it's always this side. I always attempt in the beginning, and then I'm like, you know what? This side is really difficult to breastfeed on. This side Feels so natural, so easy. I could walk around. I don't even have to think about it. So I always end up just letting one side dry out and the other side working for me. To be honest, you know, as I'm saying, I did this for 2 babies, and my body obviously figured out how much to produce on one side. I never had a supplement or anything. I was able to produce just enough on the one side. So I don't know, take that, leave that, whatever you will. So anyways, that's the only reason why I bought just one of these. So I went out, bought one, and I gotta say, this is really nice if you are someone who's on the go and you want it to be a little bit more subtle, because you could just put this right in your bra, and you could be hands-free. You don't have to bring a big, huge pump like this around with you. It's very subtle. Now, I will say, if you're trying to do a lot of movement, probably a no-go, because I mean, as soon as you bend over, this is going to leak. Like, this is really helpful, like if you're driving, or if you're away from your baby and you just need a pump. Now, I would say, like, in comparison, this has just such a better suction, like as my main pump. There is no way, in my opinion, that I could pump for a full year if I was just using one of these portable pumps. The suction is just not there. It takes a lot more time for me. It would not happen. The suction on like these hospital grade ones are just so efficient and just so much easier to use. I'll tell you, even with just using one breast, if I sit down and pump, I can easily fill this all the way up in like 10, 12 minutes with this suction in the different settings. Whereas with the LV one, like these portable ones, I could put it in my bra, but the suction, it's gonna take a solid 20 to 25 minutes for this to fill up. And this fills up the same way, 5 ounces. These are both saying up to 5 ounces. This takes a lot longer. And again, this one definitely have some wipes nearby, because it's a little messy, as all I'm saying. But it definitely comes in hand. Now, I've used this, as I said, for the first 2. So I've charged this up. It seems to work. It's pumping. So we'll see if this has any gas left in it for this 3rd time around. I'll be honest, if it doesn't, I'm definitely not going to repurchase it. I would probably go for like a cheaper alternative, like the Mom Cozy that you get off of Amazon. Or, to be honest, I would just go manual. So I do have the Medela manual one. This is one where you just hook it right up and you use your little finger arm strength and you pump away manually. So if you are going to be away from your baby, this is a super much cheaper alternative if you're interested, because I don't know, I feel like these are only like 15, 20. I can't remember. I just know these are not that expensive in comparison to obviously these types of pumps, but obviously this is a lot more work. You're gonna have to sit there and squeeze until you can get everything out. Now, as far as like storage situation, as I mentioned, I have one spot in my house that I pump. That is where my pump is going to live. It's plugged into the wall. That's its location. And now all of my pumping supplies and all of that jazz is in the kitchen and the drawer. I live in a not a huge house. Like, my living room and my kitchen, it's right next to each other. It's not like, and it's all on one floor. Like, this is it. This is the main living area. So I don't have one of those carts or anything I push around. I just have stations. So my actual pump stays in the living room, and then all of my pumping supplies and other pumping needs are just in the kitchen with, I think I have one baby bottle, not too many, but like one baby bottle in there. And then I also have my storage milk bags. I just use those. I don't even know what brand it is, but it's very popular. You can buy them in bulk at Amazon. I think you also get them in bulk at Sam's Club. And to be honest, once I start pumping, you go through a lot of these bags. I know you're putting it in plastic, so I guess that is something to consider, but I'm okay with it. If you're not, you could definitely find a different alternative. I think we've covered everything. I personally feel prepared. I feel ready to go. We're not gonna stress. Whatever happens, happens. We're gonna hope for the best. I hope you found this helpful in any way. If you took 1, 2, or 3 things from it, or nothing at all, which is entertaining. Well, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.